Donald Trump's behavior has a lot of people questioning his sanity, so I consulted the American Psychiatric Association's official diagnostic and statistical manual for mental disorders. To be clear, I am not a mental health professional, and I am not attempting to make a mental health assessment of Mr. Trump. I am simply offering a comparison of the official diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder with the public behavior of Mr. Trump to help you determine whether he is competent to lead the free world. Someone with narcissistic personality disorder will exhibit 5 or more of the following. 1. Has a grandiose sense of self-importance.
Business Week magazine, which is now Bloomberg Business Week, said in a vote of its readers that Donald Trump was the world's most competitive business person, with Bill Gates being number 2 and Warren Buffett being number 3. I've beaten many people and companies, and I've won many wars. I have fairly but intelligently earned many billions of dollars, which, in a sense, was both a scorecard and acknowledgement of my abilities.
2. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love.
When I bought Miss USA, Miss Universe, I made sure that the women were really beautiful because they were getting a little bit not as beautiful.
Look, everybody knows me. I've had an amazing life. I've built an amazing business, and actually they said, oh, he'd never say what his business is worth. It's actually a much higher number than the number I gave. If Putin likes me, and if he thinks I'm a good, smart person, which, I mean, I hope he believes it, I am. Actually, he's right, I am brilliant. You know that, right?
3. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other people of high status.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe people don't want my message. Maybe they want to stay mediocre. And if they do, they should put a politician in office, because that's what's going to happen.
Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
4. Requires excessive admiration.
I employ thousands and thousands of Hispanics. They love me. I just did so well with the evangelicals in the poll. I love them, they love me. And you know what? I've been very successful. And they love me. And by the way, I think I'm going to win the Mexican vote.
We have employees that love us. You know, they love me, they love us.
Bing, 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 bing.
I understand everybody loves what I'm doing in terms of the border.
Everybody loves me. They love me.
They love me. They love me.
They love me.
They all love me. I did very nicely in life.
They love me. I love them.
They love me and I love them.
They love me and I love them. We love you, Mr. Trump. They love me.
5. Has a sense of entitlement, i.e. unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations.
It's not been easy for me. It has not been easy for me. And, you know, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
This whole election is being rigged.
I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
6. Is interpersonally exploitative, i.e. takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends.
This was the promise of Trump University when it launched, direct from the university chairman's own mouth.
At Trump University, we teach success. That's what it's all about, success. It's going to happen to you.
We started looking at Trump University and discovered that it was a classic bait and switch scheme. It was a scam, starting with the fact that it was not a university.
Like this student who writes, I have not been able to get in touch with anyone after I signed up for the Trump Gold Elite program. All the numbers have been disconnected. One student who paid $25,000 to have special access to high-level mentors claims he hasn't been able to get in touch with his non-existent power team. And as for investing knowledge, a student says he wrote off Trump University as a bad investment on my part.
7. Lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. These are people who only believe in jihad. They don't want our system. They don't want our system. And have no sense of reason or respect for human life. They have no respect for human life.
And now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
That reporter he is talking about is Serge Kovaleski, who now works for the New York Times. As you can see right there, he suffers from a chronic condition that impairs movement of his arms.
8 is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him.
In the meantime, I build this incredible empire. It's got a tremendous net worth, very little debt. And then I hear some pundit or some person say, he doesn't deserve to be on the stage with a senator. The senator is nothing. And I'm not saying, or senators are nothing, I'm saying certain people are zeros.
But what is it with you and Megyn Kelly?
Well, I just don't respect her as a journalist. I have no respect for her. I don't think she's very good. I think she's highly overrated. You know, she gets out and she starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions. And, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Well, number one, I'm not stupid, okay? I can tell you that right now. Just the opposite. Number two, in terms of divisive, I don't think I'm a divisive person. I'm a unifier. Unlike our president now, I'm a unifier. I don't care about him. I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me about him. Let's see how he does. I mean, let's see if he's a good mayor.
Are you offended by what he said?
Yeah, I am, because he doesn't know me, never met me, doesn't know what I'm all about. I think they're very rude statements, and frankly, tell him I will remember those statements.
And 9 shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes.
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You cannot deport 11 million people. You cannot build a 1900 wall. You cannot deny citizenship to children in this.
Sit down, please. You weren't called.
I'm a reporter and don't touch me, sir. Don't touch me.
Go.
You cannot touch me. I have the right to ask a question.
People have birth certificates. He doesn't have a birth certificate. Now, he may have one, but there's something on that birth, maybe religion, maybe it says he's a Muslim, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want that, or he may not have one. But I will tell you this, if he wasn't born in this country, it's one of the great scams of all time.
Absolutely, but I don't
well,
think that's
I mean,
the case.
You don't, but I'm starting to think.
I don't think you believe that either. I think it's provocative.
2 weeks ago,
you get a lot of attention raising the question, but I don't think you believe it.
2 weeks ago, I felt like probably he was born in the country. Today, it's possibly. I'm telling you, it's changed.
Everybody needs a little love, even megalomaniacs who run for president. Join us as we have a look at the past women that Donald Trump has loved and left behind. We'll start off things with Donald's first wife, Ivana. This is the woman that he's had the most children with, including his infamous Skittles-loving son and his stone-faced daughter, both of whom were included on The Celebrity Apprentice. The pair married in 1997 and had a pretty great marriage up until the early 90s when rumors began to circulate that Trump was having an affair with Marla Maples, whom he had met in the 1980s. No worries for her though. In the divorce, aside from receiving the paltry sum of $20 million, she also claimed 2 estates, a $5 million housing allowance, and the Donald even hosted one of her future weddings at their estate in Florida. Moving on, we go straight to the homewrecker that ended Ivana's tenure as Mrs. Trump, in Marla Maples. Trump really wasted no time at all jumping into nuptials with Marla, but that's not surprising, since it's rumored they had been dating for years anyways. The two shared a long-publicized affair before tying the knot and having one child together, daughter Tiffany. But as time would tell, once a cheater, always a cheater. And Marla should have known that if Trump would cheat on his wife, he was probably going to cheat on her as well. Because apparently, at the same time that Trump was knocking around with Marla while he was married to Ivana, he was doing the same thing with famous tennis player Gabriella Sabatini. Sabatini was barely even out of high school when her infamous battles against Steffi Graf put her in the spotlight, and apparently in the crosshairs of the Donald. It's rumored, though, that the affair was rather short, having lasted only a month or so. Most likely because Trump was moving on to other foreign locales, such as Italy and Carla Bruni. Carla Bruni was a young Italian model when she met Trump, and she apparently had some kind of daddy complex for older men, because she reportedly left Mick Jagger to hitch up with Donald. Again, a short relationship ensued, with Carla apparently being rather aggressive about Trump leaving Marla Maples. Trump didn't let it last too long though, and Bruni moved on to other seasoned men, like Eric Clapton. It was also around this time that Trump apparently had a hot and heavy, though brief, relationship with a blossoming model by the name of Vicky Smith. If that doesn't ring a bell, don't worry. It wouldn't take long for the Marilyn Monroe-esque, fully figured Playboy model to come into her own as Anna Nicole. But I guess Donald was just too young for her though. She moved on to marry that oil tycoon, and well, it's just gross to even think about. Moving on, another one of Trump's former flames also comes in the form of an adult model. Sandra Taylor, a former Penthouse pet, claims that she went on a handful of dates with Donald Trump, and that he was in fact the best sex that she had ever experienced. And she's gone on to rave about it to several news publications. Falling even farther into the world of pornography, it's speculated and hearsay, but the word on the street is that Trump also recently had an affair with adult actress Stormy Daniels. Though, when questioned about the alleged relationship, both parties are in complete denial. Everyone by now knows about Trump's penchant for models and the Miss America pageants, so it's no surprise that he would end up with one or even more of the models in that competition. And that's where Roanne Brewer comes in. The former Miss Maryland began dating Trump, and unlike many of the other women that have come and gone in his life, she had nothing but nice things to say about him. Unfortunately, their careers would see them separate and have to call it a day on their budding romance. And Brewer would later go on to marry and then divorce Warrant frontman Janie Lane. After moving on from Marla Maples, Trump got his jollies with Allison Giannini, the Romanian-born real estate agent, model, and actress, who said their relationship failed because apparently Donald was still in love with his former second wife. The two were set up on a blind date, and the 50-year-old Trump wooed the then 27-year-old Giannini with a few dates in Colorado. However, they never got farther than simple kissing, and after the time spent in Aspen, she never heard from him again. That's okay though, because Trump wouldn't remain single long. He went on to hook up with the Cindy Crawford lookalike and wannabe Kara Young. However, it wasn't without its own controversy, as apparently Young was also dating gossip columnist AJ Benza, and Trump even went so bold as to call into the Howard Stern show, while AJ was a guest, to inform him that his supposed girlfriend was done with him. Which of course led her to calling in, and it just became some kind of huge bizarre love triangle. It's gotta be extra humiliating not only to lose your girl to someone else, but especially when it's 50-year-old Donald Trump. Trump even had a brief affair with the Queen of Versailles herself, Jackie Siegel, who expressed that through the handful of dates that the couple went on, Trump was nothing short of a charmer and terrific guy who treated her well and was a great gentleman. Trump claims that though his sexual abilities have bagged him far more women than facts can find, and the rumors of many relationships through the years with certain other females have all been refuted, you just never know. Which is why we give honorable mentions to these rumors. Catherine Oxenberg, who was a big-time actress on the series Dynasty, and she also portrayed Princess Diana twice in made-for-TV movies. But Catherine claims that the rumors of her relationship with Trump are totally false. 1982 Sports Illustrated cover model Carol Alt also shares the same views, saying that the Donald is indeed a fortunate man, but when it comes to having allegedly dated her, he's not that fortunate. Trump was even once linked to Robin Givens, who, at the time of their supposed affair, was married to Mike Tyson at the height of his career and craziness. Trump claims it's all hearsay, and that any man who would try to get with the woman married to Tyson would have to have been insane. And of course, Trump would go on a few more years before finally meeting his now wife, Melania. And the two have enjoyed success in their marriage since 2005, with Trump claiming that the pair have never had a fight. They did, however, manage to have a son together, and now have a run at the White House. This has been a look at the former lovers in Donald Trump's past. With the upcoming presidential election, a sense of energy is in place with American voters like never before, and the polarizing presence of Donald Trump has taken over with a vengeance. Here we have a look at Trump and some of his darker and not so known secrets. Trump isn't concerned with history or doing things the right way. If you've even had a clue as to what's going on in media in the last 30 or so years and know anything about Donald Trump, you have at least a few things on your list about him. That he hosted The Apprentice, that he's into real estate, and more specifically, that he's well known for his Trump Tower in New York City. But what isn't so well known is how that tower came to be and the nefarious actions that got it completed. Trump Tower in New York City is the home of Donald Trump and serves as his headquarters for all things Trump. The building was also the main setting for the hit series The Apprentice and sits at a great height of over 600 feet, featuring a full television studio, a waterfall, and home to other famous celebrities. It's truly a beautiful sight to take in and experience. But it might be surprising to know that both illegal immigrants and organized crime are said to have been involved in its construction. In fact, the concrete used is said to have ties to the mafia, while those who worked on the building itself are reported to be Polish immigrants who did the construction for measly pay. The workers were also off the books, some living on the site, and were paid the minuscule sum of just $4 to $5 an hour working round-the-clock shifts. Trump vowed to preserve the original building in parts and donate the items to the Metropolitan Museum, but then ended up destroying everything. Though some pieces of the original structure were said to have been transported to a warehouse in New Jersey for safekeeping, but no one knows where they are, and evidence of them cannot seem to be produced. But what was so important about the original building, you ask? It was the site of an Art Deco building that was actually listed on the Historical Landmarks Registry. Lawsuits ensued, the FBI got involved, and ultimately everything was settled with sealed records. Trump's patriotic memory isn't so good. The events of September 11th were horrifying. Americans watched as the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center fell into the ground after malicious acts of terror, and the face of the New York City skyline was changed forever. Donald Trump also claims to have been watching from the window of his New York City living space. He also claims something equally as horrifying, saying that as the buildings fell, thousands of residents in Jersey City, New Jersey were cheering. But what Trump says he saw and what actually happened may be two very different things. When confronted about his comments the next day on television by George Stephanopoulos, Trump solidified his claims and stood firm on what he had said. So, leave it to popular website PolitiFact to do some digging. PolitiFact found that a few isolated cases, not the thousands as Trump claimed, were reported, and no sources for the reports could be confirmed. Furthermore, more rumors and false information were quickly spread through chain emails, as were tons of other hoaxes surrounding the 9/11 events. In fact, no one can even find any comments of Trump making such claims before the recent tirade. And even when interviewed just 8 days after the tragic event, he made no allusions or comments towards witnessing any celebrations. Donald Trump has some double standards. Everyone got a smack in the face quickly when Donald Trump introduced his campaign by making slurs against Mexicans, and even referring to them as rapists. But Trump has his own dark past that involves the subject, and he claims it's not that bad. Trump used to be married to a woman named Ivana, who once claimed during divorce proceedings that she had been raped and abused by her real estate tycoon former husband. The event in question stems from the Donald using Ivana's surgeon for a scalp surgery that apparently went wrong. Then Trump would go into a fury, squeezing her arm, ripping out chunks of her hair, and then physically raping her. The morning after the event, while surveying the damage in the mirror, Trump is said to have simply commented, "Does it hurt?" Trump's lawyer would then comment about the scene that it wasn't, in fact, rape, and that it was impossible for a man to rape his spouse, even saying that it wasn't rape in the criminal sense. The divorce was finalized on grounds of cruel and inhumane treatment, and when the tell-all book came out, mysteriously, the Trump camp produced a statement where Ivana backtracked on her previous claim, and that what she said wasn't exactly true. But in 2013, comments concerning the rise of rape in the military were shrugged off by Trump, citing that in most cases it was probably the female's fault. He also supported an idea that Mike Tyson should be allowed to pay off his victims instead of serving jail time for his crimes. Most people look at a man like Donald Trump and think that he got to where he is by hard work, good business, and some kind of intelligence. But a little-known fact is that to begin his career, he had to ask his father for a loan. That's not really uncommon, except that most fathers aren't able to loan their children $1 million. Trump was actually born into wealth, kicked out of private school, and then thrown into military school. Afterwards, wanting to go into business, he asked his dear old dad to front him some cash, and then he was underway with his real estate career, which was pretty easy to do when you don't really know much about making money to begin with. In fact, 4 of his businesses have declared bankruptcy in federal court. Trump claims it's a normal thing, though, and that everyone does it, continuing to throw his money and his weight around to everyone looking to make a profit from him. 4 bankruptcies in 25 years isn't exactly normal, though. Donald Trump is a figure shrouded in scandal. In addition to all of these facts, Trump is no stranger to scandals of all sorts outside of his business and personal affairs. In the 1970s, he was sued in a discrimination lawsuit when he refused to rent his properties to minorities. When Trump got involved in the Miss America and Miss Universe pageants, he was reported to have been very nefarious in his treatment of models. Stories of groping and improper sexual conduct surround events at parties and other social gatherings. Outside of Trump Tower, Donald Trump also has multiple other ties and supposed connections to the mafia. It's alleged that Trump paid twice the value of the land under Trump Casino in Atlantic City to a high-ranking mob official. Trump also opened Trump University, in which he promised that students would learn all of his secrets of real estate, including getting an education from his hand-picked instructors. Some students even spent as much as $35,000 for the education. But it was later revealed that Trump had hardly anything to do with the school, which was also found to be operating without a license to educate. Class action lawsuits to the tune of millions were then put into place, as former students concluded it was all a scam. Trump is also under fire for breaking rules at his casinos, and in one instance, needing to pay debts, had his father go in and buy millions of dollars worth of chips with no intention of gambling. In another case, Trump was fined for discrimination in his attempts to keep black employees away from the table of a high-class mobster, and then buying multiple luxury cars for the same mobster and campaigning against Indian casinos encroaching on his territory. Oh, and speaking of his casino dealings, Trump also attempted hostile takeovers of other casino companies in an effort to create a monopoly, and then was sued for antitrust violations. Amongst all of these scandals, Trump is also on record as having refused to pay workers, hiring nefarious individuals for his campaign, and generally being an abusive and tyrannical businessman with no regard for others. But somehow, for some odd reason, he's loved by many and just might become the next president of the United States.